Dave Bolger here, and welcome to Had I Known, conversations with interesting members of the Hamilton College community. This week, we welcome two guests, Sammy Johnson, class of 2020, and Chad Varney, class of 2022. All right. No embarrassing myself this week, at least not intentionally. Some interesting feedback on the previous episode. It was a collection of people convinced that I couldn't possibly have had such a high-pitched voice. People shocked to think that I had such a horrific accent. And quite a lot of people saying, more. Let us hear more. So that's going to come. And in terms of the high-pitched voice and the speed of the tape, it's possible that cassette tapes that have been sitting in a poorly insulated attic for many, many years has done a number on that tape. So it's entirely possible that there's degradation on the tape, which causes some high-speed sound and makes me sound like a Long Island guy. Totally the tape degradation there, too. But it was fun to hear that young man, so hopeful, so energetic, thinking that that's the career path he was going to go down. Wasn't it? It all worked out. And now I'm doing this. So it really did all work out. But really, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I certainly didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. And that's one of the many things that's made doing this interesting. I've had a chance to talk to current students, recent alumni, and one of the things that stands out to me is what seems like these students and young alums have it together, or at least a vision for what they want to do, far more than at least I did when I was their age. And you've heard me talk before on this show about some work that I did for the school a few months ago for the 1812 Leadership Conference, and getting an opportunity to talk to current students who have found their passion at Hamilton. And each of those students I talked to not only had found their passion, but had really put it to use already. Several of which were either involved in or had created their own company or some business venture. One of those students is part of the duo I talked to for this week's show, Chad Varney, class of 2022. He and his partner, Sammy Johnson, class of 2020, have launched and are operating a clothing brand, Upcurl. As you'll hear, Hamilton College plays a prominent role in the creation of this brand and this business. And it's an interesting story, and it's an interesting business they've launched. Through the course of this conversation and learning about Upcurl, I learned about upcycling. I learned about fast fashion. I learned where sewing machines exist on campus. And I learned that the Hamilton College hockey program, both men's and women's, are churning out some interesting people. Sammy was a goalie on the women's team, and Chad is a forward on the men's team. But this isn't a conversation about Hamilton hockey, although I do ask Chad about the Citrus Bowl, since we talked about it last week. This is a conversation about a business that was born at Hamilton and continues to grow. If after listening to this conversation you want to find out more about Sammy and Chad's business, you can go to upcurlclothing.com. Again, Upcurl Clothing, UPCURL clothing.com. Or they're very active on Instagram at Upcurl_. Again, Upcurl_ on Instagram. And Chad throws in a little special offer for listeners. DM them on Instagram. Tell them you heard about them on Had I Known. I'm going to throw you a little discount. I'm going to throw you a little something, a little special offer. So have a listen. I think you'll appreciate hearing about what Sammy and Chad have created with Upcurl. I know I did. Here are Sammy Johnson and Chad Varney, co-founders of Upcurl. Where are you both?
We're at Hamilton, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, Sammy.
Making your return, huh, Sammy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's funny being back, but it's nice.
I remember one of the first few times I went back as a young alum, it felt similar, right? Because, I mean, when did you graduate?
I graduated 2020.
Okay. All right. So you're still close.
Yeah.
And I remember hanging out, going to the pub, seeing people I still knew that went there, and then the night would wrap up and I'd be like, "Oh shit, I have no place to go." Like the usual feeling of, "Oh, I'll go back to my room now," whatever. Like, "Oh wait, I don't live here anymore."
Yeah.
That was a weird feeling.
Mhm.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And when you get to be as old as I am, it's an even weirder feeling when you walk around campus. When I saw Chad walking around and being like, "Wow, I really don't belong here."
That's
I
funny.
feel like I don't even belong here anymore because I'm so old. Playing junior hockey before, I'm like, oh, maybe, I'm seeing little kids walking around when really they're 18-year-olds. It's just,
Oh yeah, right. Hard to believe that was once you, right?
oh yeah, definitely.
Well, I appreciate you both doing this. Sammy, I got to know Chad a little bit when I was up on campus doing a thing, talking to impressive students, and I guess he's one. And I was really interested in sort of what you both have going on. So I was hoping we could talk about that because I know listeners of this little thing I do are interested in stories like that, and you two have a pretty remarkable story.
Awesome.
So I guess I'll start with. Tell me a little bit about Upcurl and what it is and how it got started.
Yeah, so Upcurl was actually kind of born out of a class, an independent study that we created at Hamilton. So when I was a senior, I was an art minor, and I'd finished all my requirements for my major and my minor. So I was like, you know what? I just want to do something that I like. Like I want to make up my own class. Like I don't want to just take like a throwaway class just to get the credits. Like I really wanted to take advantage of it. So I thought of an independent study that had to do with sewing. Like I'd seen these sweatshirts from this local company where they had like switched the sleeves. And I was like, I feel like I could learn how to do that. And that seems something like I'd be really interested in. And so I thought of sewing and I was like, all right, well, I definitely want to learn how to sew. And I feel like I could find that would be an interesting independent study. And no one would pass it. Like I went to the theater department, the art department laughed at me. They were like, absolutely not. You need to have taken 3D sculpture first. And I was like, why? They're like, because you're working with a 3D thing, like a product. I was like, okay, well, that makes no sense, but whatever. So then I went to the theater department because they had a bunch of sewing machines.
And that went better, right?
That went a little bit better. We gained some traction there, but
and you were just trying to find anywhere that would say yes.
Anyone that would pass it. And honestly, if I wasn't like pretty passionate about doing something that I actually wanted to do my senior year, I probably would have given up because at this point it had gone like past the spring break where we came back. I still didn't have my class passed. And I was like, I'm just going to go to the registrar. And I explained my thing. And I was like, listen, like I want to get this passed. And I think I should. I have a proposal. What do you recommend I do? Who should I talk to?
And meanwhile, I'm failing chemistry at this point. Or not failing, but struggling mightily.
Yeah.
So, and I'm also at a crossroads, right? Where I'm still trying to sink my teeth into a bio major that I'm just not interested in. So that just takes, we're taking two perspectives here. Sammy's really struggling. I'm hoping she's coming up with something because I need to get out of this chemistry class. And
were you going to take this? You were going to take this class as well?
Yeah. That was part of the plan. And then eventually, we got Aaron Strong, who is maybe the busiest man on campus.
Yeah.
To accept the our offer. And he had a friend that did something similar with producing bags, like tote bags around the Boston area. So he was familiar with like the upcycling products, I guess.
Yeah.
And he helped us out. And then he also turned it into an academic study where we had to learn about, what the ramifications of fast fashion were and, the global scale, United States, everything. So turned into, I think we read like a paper a week on it, came in, discussed it with him. And then we also, produced products.
So there's a lot there I want to get into. Just go back to Sammy for a sec. So the interest in sewing and these sweatshirts you saw, you were an art major? Did I hear that right?
I was an art minor. I was a sociology major. Yeah.
Okay. So why was fashion an interest, or why the sewing passion?
Honestly, I think, we're kind of living in a time right now where fashion is easily like replicated, and we're kind of moving into everyone wants to be unique, everyone wants to stand out. And when I saw these sweatshirts, I was like, those are really unique. And it's definitely my style. Like, I feel like I, have kind of a laid back, more edgy than preppy, I guess, would be my style. And that's kind of what those sweatshirts are screaming. And I was like, they seem simple and they seem like I could figure it out. And my whole thing was I had no idea how to sew. I'd never sewed before. So that was kind of like step one. And that was the interesting part of getting the independent study through Aaron Strong, because he's in the environmental department, which is a huge aspect of what we do. And that's like kind of how that all came to be, was through him. But we still didn't know how to sew, and he didn't know how to sew. So like that was where, we kind of were like, all right, how do we start figuring this out? And over spring break, my grandmother actually was over the house, and we went to a thrift store and bought a couple sweatshirts. And I asked her if she could show us how to switch the sleeves on them, like cut them, put them on a different one. And that's kind of where it started. She taught us the basics. And then we actually found Julie Starr in the theater department. I'm pretty sure she's in charge of costumes, but there were a ton of sewing machines in there. And this was just out of the kindness of her heart. She had nothing to do with our independent study. And she was like, come in here twice a week and I will help you guys out. And so at that time, we didn't even have a sewing machine. So using that space and having her guidance was like what really helped us figure it out, because there would be a lot of mistakes if we didn't have her.
We learned so much faster with her help. Like it would have been a much longer process.
Yeah.
So sociology major, art minor, so a little bit of an interest in design or some elements of it. Chad, you mentioned you were failing chemistry, art, and I know from our previous chat, art wasn't necessarily on your radar. So short of just trying to get out of a failing class and hang out with your girlfriend, how did you come to sort of this as a passion?
So
or that was it and you lucked into it, that's fine too.
Is my mom gonna hear this? No, so I think that I was at a crossroads. I needed something else other than biology, and it was quite obvious. I remember having, it's probably very annoying for Sammy, very long conversations about what am I going to do. I'm not interested in biology, and if I keep doing this, I'm going to drive myself crazy. So I think it was the perfect storm of, finding something or having something come along at the same time as like really realizing that this previous thing was not for me. So I was taking another independent study at the time, working on Illustrator, teaching myself Illustrator, which is a digital design like tool on the computer. And so I was doing that at the same time as this, and I kind of just fell for it. And especially seeing the handmade products that we had with the clothing, and then seeing, the designs that we made embroidered on I was like, oh, this clicks. This is something I'm very interested in. And then I kind of just went with it from there.
And you both mentioned your in on this was from an environmental perspective. And you mentioned the word upcycle. So for those that don't know, what is upcycling and why is the sewing independent study taking an environmental path?
Yeah, so I'd say upcycle is very similar to reusing, except it's creating a different purpose. So we were using multiple different pieces of clothing that were basically trash and taking all the best parts of them and making a new thing. I think that would be the basic definition of upcycling. And it's funny because that was always the mission kind of before we even knew it. Like the sweatshirts, it's not like we were going to buy brand new sweatshirts and mess them up. Like it was always like, let's grab them from thrift stores and make them cool again. And I think Aaron Strong is who really like helped us realize that was what we needed to lean into. And that was a really important part that we didn't even realize. It was kind of like we were just going to do that anyways. And then learning about, the actual implications of fast fashion and how much of an impact it is if we do this, that really made us start to become extremely passionate about that side of it. And that's kind of what grew the actual brand to what it was, instead of just like making cool clothes for our friends. Who's like, this has a purpose and a direction and a real passion. So, yeah.
And then talk to me about the brand.
So Upcurl's the brand. I'd say it's like a street style / casual clothing brand We have two, I guess, sections now where we're doing 100% upcycled, and then we have responsibly sourced and eco-friendly garments that are produced. What is the proper phrase? They're produced upon order, so there's no
Made to order.
Made to order, so there's no excess waste. And yeah, and so that's pretty much what we're doing. I think our demographic is, anywhere from 10 to, like, we've had some items worn by my little cousins, but 10 to,
Parents like the sweatshirts.
and like, yeah, I think we're kind of widespread. So
yeah, our main demographic is definitely probably ages, like, I'd say 16 to 30.
Yeah,
that's definitely the main demographic.
It's actually kind of funny. I guess you could call him my advisor here on campus, Dick Tantillo. I made him an Upcurl, patchwork sweatshirt, and he said, I really appreciate this, but it might be better if I give it to my kid. So my style, exactly. So I gotta.
And as you're trying to, no disrespect to Mr. Tantillo, but as you're trying to build a brand, you want the young Hamilton students wearing it and showing it off, not necessarily, an older gentleman. I would put myself. I think Dick's a little older than I am, but I would put myself more in that category. I don't know you want me sort of flaunting it either. Although I do, since getting to know you, Chad, I check out the website and see every time you guys do a drop. I check it out. And there's a lot of really good looking stuff in there.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
What is it like seeing your creations walking around campus or out in the world?
It's really cool. So last year during the pandemic, campus was pretty much locked down. So Sammy couldn't come visit. And I'd see, like something that we made on somebody walking around. And I'd like try not to be creepy, but like sneak a picture. Like, hey, Sammy, look, somebody's rocking one of our garments. And then it started happening more and more. And it's really cool. And I feel bad for Sammy because she doesn't get to experience it as much as I have. Just being graduated and stuff, but it's a good feeling. And we had a bunch of alums come yesterday for like our alumni weekend. Plans got wrecked, but we had our senior day yesterday for hockey, and they all came. They were pumped up wearing our new stuff.
A couple of them bought some on the spot.
Yeah, a couple of them bought some on the spot. So yeah, it feels really good that your buddies are supporting you, and then even that it extends to the campus like community and beyond too. So it's cool. It's really cool.
And it seems like from seeing what you're all doing on social media and on your website, each drop gets a little bit bigger. It's advanced a little bit more. What's the mid and long term plan for how you're looking to grow this thing?
Yeah, so I'd say we just kind of released two different sections of Upcurl, two sides, kind of like Chad was saying. There's the 100% upcycled material, like garments that we put hours into and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, like physically making them. And then the other side of the house is our first attempt, I'd say, at expanding. So
yeah, definitely.
We could really only go so far with the stuff that we made ourselves. And we realized that pretty fast because the demand was well outnumbering how much we could make. And it took us a long time to make this stuff. And, if we compare like the prices we sell it at to what, the market would say that we should sell it at, we're way undercutting it. But we know who we're selling to. It's the Hamilton community. It's our friends. It's people that are our age that don't necessarily want to spend $150 on a sweatshirt. And we understand that. And that's kind of like totally fine by us. But if we're looking at how much we can make, like garment wise, and how long it takes us to,
sure,
it's really hard to scale. And I felt like we kind of like hit a ceiling there, and we're like, all right, well, this is great and all, but we kept hearing from people that were like, oh, I want to get something, but I never can. Like, I'm never there in time, or like, you didn't make my size or something like that. Like, I love this one, but it's too big. I love this one, but it's too small. And I think there's something so unique about the pieces that we do make. They're all one of a kind, which is incredible. But also, Chad has this incredible ability to make designs. And I think that we really wanted to start utilizing that in things. And we talked about doing a screen press and stuff like that. Maybe we could do that route. But the really hard thing about upcycling clothing from thrift stores is that it's all printed on, like it's, or embroidered on, like it's all, rarely can you find a plain item.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a little frustrating when we had visions of like, if put everything aside, what would our perfect item look like?
Mm-hmm.
And
Hard to put your brand on something that's already branded with something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we definitely found like really creative ways to do that. And I think that makes those items so incredibly special. But I think we really wanted to explore this other side of the house, that we can do it in a sustainable way, but it's a way to grow the brand and a way to showcase all the designs that Chad's worked so hard at creating. And that when we opened up that side of the store, that was just, and got the first garments in, like, this is one of them that he's wearing right now. And it was so freaking cool to see it in person, like made from start to finish. It has our tags on the inside of it, like it's fully branded ours.
Yeah, it's cool.
So that side of the house, I'd say, is best for scaling, because they're made to order. You can pick whatever size you want. And then the other side of the house, our goal kind of was that, we don't have to drastically increase how much we produce. That's going to really wear and tear on us. But those garments,
and that process is literally going to a thrift store, finding a piece that you find interesting,
yes,
and then looking at it and deciding what to do with it, cutting the sleeves off, putting on new sleeves.
Yeah, I think
how long does a piece like that take?
It'd have to be
8 hours probably.
Well, for one piece, you think? Probably total.
If we're dyeing it,
if we're doing a bunch of stuff, it's it's at least 5. If you're doing one item, if you're doing a series of 15, 20, it's like you got a project on your hands.
Yeah, and if there's only one person doing it, sometimes when Chad's been at school, I've been the only one doing it, and that's just so incredibly difficult to do with one person. If we have both of us there, it can go by a little bit quicker, but it's an all-day thing. Like,
so are there cut sleeves all over the floor that I can't see on the Zoom right now?
Mess. Absolute mess.
All right, good. So we can expect that. We can expect another drop soon then. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the ultimate goal is like what Sammy was touching on earlier is like we want to. It's very intentional where our price range is, right? Because we want it to be affordable. We don't want to be exclusive to really anybody, right? We have to make a profit, of course. That's how business works. But we want to be available to a lot of people. And I guess that, like, to answer your other question about what we're going to do about the scalability of like the handmade garments, I think we're going to shift those a little bit in terms of like we're going to take more and more care on each one. So we're going to produce less of those actually, but they're going to be more refined and more, I guess just spend more time and not rush through them, right? To like mass produce. So
that was kind of the one thing we noticed before we came up with the idea of, doing the other side of the house. We were trying to keep up with demand, and sometimes we just weren't even that proud of what we were making. We're just trying to make things so that people have stuff to buy, and we weren't that, I guess, proud of like some of them. We just kind of made them.
Just rushed it.
Like I wouldn't wear it, you know what I mean? And that kind of didn't feel as great as some of the things we were so pumped about and so excited to release. And that's what we were so passionate about. And that stuff doesn't really feel like work. And so, we kind of just want to make more of those. And in order to do that, we kind of need to find another side of the house, which we're also really pumped about. So that's good.
So I was interested to talk to Chad when I first met him about doing all this while being a student. Sammy, you've been doing this now as an alum out in the real world. I'm going to suspect that this isn't your full-time job.
No, it's not.
So what are you doing when you're not playing with clothes?
So I work in sales for a tech company called Cisco. I'm an account manager there. That takes up a majority of my time. I try and hide a little bit how much I work on Upcurl because I definitely, if I have like 30 minutes in between calls, I sometimes I'm ripping on the sewing machine. But no, it's a lot of work to do both of them, especially with the release coming up. I'd work a full day and then sit on the sewing machine until midnight, dye clothes until it's pitch black out. And then I've wrecked my back porch with dye because it's just been completely pitch black. And I'm using my iPhone flashlight to try and get the last items dyed because I have to do it all after work. But so it's definitely a little challenging balancing the two. But
and do you find being out in the quote unquote real world with a real job pulling you away from this business, or does it strengthen your passion even more and make you realize that that's really what you want to do and grow?
I'd say it strengthens the passion even more. I mean, I think for the majority of Upcurl, I have had this job. Upcurl was kind of like in the spring of 2020, and it really came to be when we left school and got quarantined. And I also started working really quickly after that. And so I've juggled the two of them. And I'd say for me, it's more Upcurl is the passion project. And, Cisco, love it. That's like my job that really pays me. And this is kind of like, it's why we're not like that much of sticklers about, if we're, if we're making a garment and how many hours we work equals like the right amount of pay for what it's costing us to like, I don't know, like we don't really look into that stuff that much because it is a passion project.
To be fair, we do need to change that.
Yeah, we do need to start,
I think
charging a little bit.
I think how I would take that, or I guess approach that, is Upcurl was a passion project that's turning into something real. Mm-hmm. And so it's changed the way that I've thought about my career. And I'm, extremely serious about pursuing this real time. And we're getting people on board, either friends or people, friends of a friend that will help us with that stuff,
mm-hmm.
The books that I don't know anything about. And, ultimately that's the goal. Take this thing to the next level. Make it our job instead of our pastime.
Yeah. Is that what you're coming up on graduation? Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah. So I have a job lined up, after school.
Got to pay the bills.
Got to pay the bills. And it's actually something that I'm very excited about, but it's not what I want to do. I want to be my own boss, right? Of course, everyone wants to be their own boss. So, got to pay the bills, but that's the ultimate goal is to,
so you're going to learn from Sammy about how to balance both after graduation?
Like lots to learn there.
What has surprised you both the most about this project?
How much
got into it? How much people liked it? Okay.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's why it turned into a company. It was fully a school project. Had no intention of selling anything.
COVID kind of helped us out in a weird way.
How so?
We got sent home. We couldn't do our fashion show we were supposed to do, which would have been great, right? But it would have been 10 friends and that's it.
Yeah, 6 items. That was it. That was what the project was.
So we threw it up on our website that we made for our final project. Shout out Aaron Strong again for that idea. And people bought it. So we were like, oh wow, okay, let's make another round.
Yeah.
And then,
You say people have helped. How are people helping you?
I say that it's more the willingness to help us with next steps right now, because I mean, we can't pay anyone right now. It's not like we can pay an hourly worker.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that want to help out, and a friend that codes that wants to help us show up on Google more, or my brother wants us to start making NFTs, and he's the one that's diving into that head first. And he's like, I'm gonna figure out how to make the NFT. You just need the design, and I'll be the guy that can actually figure that out. I remember when we first started, one of our buddies on the hockey team was like, do you guys plan on going big? I'd like to invest, type of thing. And at that point we had no plan, so it really didn't make sense for him to do that. But I mean, that if we're talking about actual next steps, an investor is absolutely what we need to do exactly what we want to do.
Exactly.
We have plans for it. We've just been so used to doing things just us two, and with the money that we've made from it and reinvesting that in ourselves. But in terms of actual next steps, that's kind of really what we need.
Well, there are quite a few Hamilton alums who, play in that space, some of which have been guests on this show and who I know listen. So, you never know.
Send them our number.
We'll see how this goes if you're listening. I'm interested, Sammy, in sort of your perspective as a young alum. You're back on campus there. How's it being back? What's it like being out in the world after being a Hamilton grad?
Yeah, so I say the first couple times I came back, it was very weird. I mean, I had an interesting way of leaving this campus with COVID.
Yeah.
Never got to fully close my chapter. Coming back was a little bizarre because I feel like you're most comfortable coming back the year after you graduate because you still know most people there. You're 1 year removed. Coming back 2 years after for the first time definitely felt a little strange. And, you also don't want to cross any boundaries with COVID. Like, I didn't know kind of like what I was allowed to do, what I wasn't.
Yeah. Did you feel like you had unfinished business given the way you ended things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, less unfinished business, more like the official, turning of the page is something that I really missed out on. They are bringing us back for graduation that I'm excited about. Like, I just want to wear a cap and gown. I want to walk across the stage. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion. Some people are over it, but for me, it's something that I think I really need.
Sure.
I started working before I even technically graduated, and that's a little sad. Like, that's not what I wanted. So,
reverse.
There was no mark of the end, no official end, and
exactly.
or a new beginning, like, really. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, finish your finals. All right, go off into the world. And we were just at home. It was like, all right, that was so anticlimactic, but
yeah.
Do
you feel like that? Sorry, Chad. Do you feel like that hurts your connection to the place?
I think there's a big part of my career that I always looked forward to and was so interested to see how it unfolded, which was basically senior spring and then senior week and then graduation. And the amount of people that just like, that is such a big part of their Hamilton experience that's talked about that they look forward to. And I don't have that. It just kind of ended. Yeah. It's weird. I don't know if it hurts my relationship because I'm here kind of a lot for like, since Chad still goes here, and I see the faculty members around still. Like, I say hi. Like, I was saying hi to the Zamboni driver last night. Like, it's so great to see all those people. But yeah, I guess there is like that final chapter that is missing, but it's still, it's not like it's definitively gone. They still have it planned for us. So I guess I'm just holding out a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not alone. Everyone didn't get a graduation. So
yeah, no, it's a crazy time. And Chad, it's been the better part of your college career, basically living through this crap. Seems like the school has figured out how to power through it. Does it feel like some sense of normalcy has returned?
Yeah, I'll say two things. One thing would be, I was talking to alums last night, and we were basically discussing how last year, although it was weird and random strict rules that, we didn't necessarily understand at the time, it made us spend an incredible amount of time figuring out ways to have fun with each other and just spending quality time with each other. And, we didn't have athletics. People didn't go out on the weekends. And we were just talking about how like we're such a tight unit because of it. So that's one thing to take away is, the bonds that we've grown from that experience are really cool. And something that's positive to take away. Yeah. And now, it's like I've complained to you before. The Village Tavern is going to be a deli shop.
Is that what it's going to be?
Something like that.
Yeah, I knew it sold. Oh, that is such a bummer.
So our going out life has been seriously downgraded. But other than that, it's fairly normal. Classes are fine. Just have to wear a mask. Dining halls are normal. Like everything's pretty much back to normal besides the mask, of course.
Yeah. And when you and I chatted, we talked a little bit about the Citrus Bowl, and you told me they don't really do that anymore. Although I saw a video of this season, it looked like I saw some oranges on the ice.
Oh yeah, you did.
The world is healing. The world is getting back to normal.
So I know a couple kids got escorted out of the game from there.
Yes. But
that was the first time in my experience that oranges had touched the ice. So I was
wow. So at least you got some sense of a somewhat normal Hamilton experience. Although I've heard that's had gone away for a while, as you said. Yeah, I was surprised to see that. And I was texting some of my alum friends and said, the kids are all right. The kids are all right.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
That's exciting. So Sammy, you're out now in the real world. As you look back to the start of your college career, is there anything you wish you had known? Having now launched a successful business or building a successful business or living through the shitty COVID experience?
Yeah, it's weird. I think not knowing is kind of how you grow. Like I am happy I didn't have all the answers. That's how all this stuff came to be. I'm sure a lot of people look back and be like, oh, I wish I knew blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't want to say I floated through college, but I had no clue what
You floated.
I wanted to do it. I remember talking to my freshman year roommate, and me and her were like, let's just make our own major. This is stupid. Like, we don't know what we want to do. I toyed with that idea a lot. And then I think through just like talking with people on my athletic teams, like bouncing ideas off of each other, not knowing is kind of the beauty of college and figuring it all out. I think that's kind of why we're here. If you knew everything before you came, your experience would be a whole lot different. Kind of like how your experience was going through COVID, like you just grow going through experiences with each, like other people. And I think being a little naive and figuring stuff out with other people and trying different things out is kind of how everything came to be. So my major, for example, I remember just having no clue what I wanted to do. And someone was just like, you know what, at Hamilton, you do not need to major in anything specific. You should just major in what you're interested in. Like, don't let a major hold you back for what you think you want to do with your life. Like, just major in something that you're passionate about. And that was probably the best advice that I could have ever gotten. And so I majored in sociology, which I absolutely loved. And it made my experience a lot definitely a lot happier. And then now I work in sales, which you'd think is not really connected, but the way that I was able to explain why sociology and sales go together and how passionate I was about sociology and, the study of people and why we do things made a great case for why I'd be able to work with people and talk with people every day.
Sure. Doesn't hurt understanding how and why people make purchases and
exactly. Yeah.
Adopt brands.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a real beauty in going through college a little bit naive and
clueless,
figuring things out as you go. Very clueless. I leaned on friends so much, but I think that's what made our bond stronger, and it's what pointed me in the direction that I went in.
How about you, Chad? As a grizzled vet walking around that campus, anything you wish you had known when you first got there?
Well, I'll say that I wish I knew that everything would work out the way it will, right? I guess that's kind of a weird way of saying it, but like, I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed at every step of the way. And also, finding my future career and being the best I could at pretty much everything I tried to do. And that was draining. I hit a point my sophomore year, right? When I was discussing, had to get out of the bio major where I was like, oh, this is not working out. But, meeting Sammy, spending time with Sammy, super level head, talked me out of a lot of my own situations where I was all, worked up about stuff, because everything does work out in the end. Just following your interests is a huge thing that Hamilton has taught me as well, is if you kind of have your true north and you work hard and you follow that with passion, it'll work out in some way or another. And not having a specific destination is also something big, because if you have that specific destination, you don't reach that, you look at it as a failure. Whereas, I don't even know, like, good things come all the time, and not necessarily all of them are expected. So
Sure. And you mentioned the major, and I don't know if we touched on it, but not only did you get out of the bio major to work on this independent study, you changed majors and are now heavy into graphic design and art. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I made a big time switch. Luckily I come from a family that really doesn't, look down on that. Right. Like, my mom's an artist herself. And my dad just wants me to be happy. So I didn't receive a lot of flack for that, but, it was kind of an impulse. It was, stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. I needed to make some move. I was a sophomore spring, already behind on coursework because, I had done I think I had knocked off 7 biology courses already. I pretty much said, I think I'm interested in this. I've taken a couple classes. This is something that could be what I'm interested in. But that was pretty much it. Kind of a flyer. I guess it worked out though.
Well, I give you a lot of credit, Sammy. I don't know if Chad told you when we recorded this video for the school, and as part of after the interview, we had to shoot, some B-roll footage of us walking around campus and pretending to talk to each other. And they decided they were going to have a great thing with it. That Chad showed me sort of his project. And I was legitimately interested in it. So there's video of us looking at his logos, many of which I now notice on some of the clothing that you're all selling. And I said, this guy conned the school into allowing him to work on his business and get a grade for it while he's just designing logos for his business.
Oh yeah.
Genius.
Been doing that.
Oh yeah.
People are like, "What's your major here?" I'm like, "All right,
company?"
studio art." And then they're like, "You don't really make studio art." I'm like, no, but that's my major. A lot of people thought I made my own, but no.
So you designed a bunch of. You showed me a wall with a bunch of different logo designs, and it's true, right? The ones you showed me on that wall, I'm now seeing appear, or at least some version of those are appearing on some of the clothing.
Yeah, I think you caught me early on. So I think, but yes, the general ideas I was coming up with at that time have made their way to the logos you see now. A couple refinements going on in there, but yeah, definitely.
I didn't figure out a way to make money off my senior thesis, so kudos to you. So is there a division of labor in this business between the two of you? I know you're just designing the logos, but Sam, I hear you talking about ruining your deck with dye. So clearly you're involved also. So what roles do each of you play in the business?
Sammy's a wizard on the sewing machine.
Uh-huh.
Can you see my fingers? They're kind of chunky.
Too many hockey fights?
Not a wizard on the sewing machine.
Okay.
So I'll let you take it from there.
I'd say, when we're together, everything's more split, especially when it comes to making garments and dyeing them, and sometimes I'm sewing them. Sometimes he jumps on the sewing machine.
I try.
No, but it's definitely different depending on where we are. Like when Chad's at school, I have the sewing machine, I have the embroidery machine, and Chad's working on designs and stuff like that. It's definitely nothing set in stone. I feel like we just kind of like make it up as we go a little bit in that side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definite dynamic. Like I'd say it changes depending on where we are. But
you can say you're the brains of the operation. And
for the most part, right now, I do a lot of the hand making of the clothing, and Chad does a lot of the clothes that you see online that get printed on.
Okay.
So basically my tools that I have on campus that are easily accessible are digital, basically.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I'm like confined to. There are a few sewing machines around that I've been offered, but it's really inconvenient because, you were a student here as well. You have an hour to work, and then you have, either rugby after school, or you have, whatever trip you're going on the weekend. So it's pretty tough to set up a sewing machine in your studio and then like rip through one item, especially when we told you how long they take. Mm-hmm. And then like pack up the sewing machine, put it back in the box. Like you got basically nothing done in that hour.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot better right now. This will change like when I get back off campus. But right now, I pretty much do the digital stuff, and then Sammy takes care of the rest.
Between you, Sammy working a full-time job, and you, Chad, all you're doing, there seems little time in the day for anything but this, and are the commitments. Do the two of you have time to actually enjoy yourselves, or is you're enjoying yourselves and you're shaking your head
no? Basically, so
you're like, no, get me off this Zoom now. This was the hour we had to enjoy coffee, and you ruined it.
No, not at all. No, I think I shouldn't be cynical. We have school, obviously, is pretty time intensive, and Sammy, she just got, I don't know if promoted is the correct term, but she got promoted to a new role essentially. So congrats, Sammy. And so her work day got even busier as well. So and then I'm working also like for this company that I have a job wrapping or like at next year.
What's the job?
It's a design job for a company called R360, based in Denver, but it's like remote, so I can be wherever when I work it.
In Situate.
Yeah, in Situate. But so like we just have a million things going on, but like we have started to prioritize this more and more, which I'm really proud of, is because like, yeah, you know, like we're going to pass our classes and, you know, do fine at work, but if we're really passionate about this, you got to spend some time, you got to put some real work in, and it's something that's going to be rewarding down the line. You know, I'd much rather do that and sacrifice a little bit of time working on the stuff that we have to do, being school work, you know, anything else, because it's worth it. And it is, you know, our passion project. It's our baby kind of. So
let's sell some clothes. People listening to this, how do they find Upcurl, and what do they do, and how do they buy?
Yeah. So our website is upcurlclothing.com. Most of our social media goes through Instagram. And so if anyone has an Instagram, feel free to follow us. It's at Upcurl with an underscore after. We also have the second side of the house is Upcurl Art. So that one's Upcurl_art. That's another Instagram account that we have. That's where you'll find all of Chad's designs that he's been making. And also, you know, once we get the NFTs up and going, that's where those will be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
we're getting
Late
all
in the future.
Yeah. We even have
So what is that? You creating one of a kind designs, and what's the plan for that?
We're going in a lot of different directions here. So the NFT, basically it's an icon series, and it's individual characters that like I kind of came up with, almost like cartoony, that are like almost act as like brand identity for Upcurl, right? But they're super like removed, like they don't have normal features. But yeah, you have to check it out when they get released. And for any of the Had I Known listeners, if you found out about us by this podcast, DM us on Instagram, and we'll give you a little promo code.
Ooh, I like it. All right. I'll push that. We'll put a code in the. I'll put a.
And of course, you get one too, Dave.
Oh yes.
Of course.
But I'm gonna be. You don't want one of the. Yeah, but you know, I'm like one of those old guys that like brings the brand down. So I'll.
No, we need
play
that.
All right, that's Sammy Johnson and Chad Varney, co-founders of Upcurl. It's a pretty cool story, and I really like what they have going on. If you haven't already, definitely go check out Upcurl on Instagram. It's at Upcurl_. They're constantly posting when they're going to have new product available. You can go to upcurlclothing.com. And as you heard Chad mention, you heard about them here on this show, they're going to throw you a little something special. My thanks to Sammy and Chad for joining this week. Wish them well, and go get yourself a hat. They have, you know, you're an old fart like me, and you don't feel like you can pull off some of the cool stuff that they're doing, or if they don't have your size, which I think tends to be my problem. Go get a hat. Get some cool stuff there. Upcurlclothing.com. You have been listening to Had I Known on WHCL-FM, Clinton, New York. Had I Known.buzzsprout.com. Had I Known Show on social media. As always, my thanks to Dr. Michael Woods for supplying the music on the show. And, once again, Doc is going to play us out. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next week.
Had I Known podcast show on your radio or take it to go.